Hello and welcome to this review of my Unisys KB1. This keyboard was a donation, thanks again mate. It was packed very poorly though, so it sustained some damage during shipping unfortunately, resulting in one keycap snapping off, this one, and a crack in the housing, but other than that it's okay, which makes sense because it's built like a main battle tank, more on that later. It was made in 1990 at a point when the IBM Model M had firmly established the new standard for full-size keyboard layouts, but this uses something quite different, and it's not even in order to make room for the integrated trackball because that's located very far away from the keys on this island at the top here. Instead, this keyboard was used with the Unisys Icon series of computers, nicknamed the Bionic Beaver, which were a series of diskless personal computers based on a 186 requested by the Ontario Ministry for Education for use in secondary schools. It used its own OS called QNX, so I'm guessing that's what the double action buttons are for. Still, despite that, a lot of the layout is non-standard. The F keys are much larger than normal, the locations of Control, Alt and Caps Lock is similar to the old XT and AT layouts, these keys on the right here have been shortened by half a unit, and the nav cluster is full of what looks like diacritics, half of which look like they wouldn't be used by a Canadian even if they were in a French-speaking part. This whole nav cluster looks like a mess to be honest. Interestingly, although it uses an integrated trackball, it uses only a single plug, whereas every other vintage keyboard I've ever seen with a trackball or trackpad or similar comes with a separate connector that you plug into the mouse port. And this provides a clue as to how it works actually. Instead of moving the mouse as we know it, the trackball instead outputs keyboard arrow key outputs. At least I think they're arrow key outputs, because even though the keyboard uses a 5-pin DIN connector and outputs commands over a Saurus converter, it outputs scan codes that don't correspond to the keycaps at all. Let me show you what happens when I press the QWERTY row, for example. Yeah, makes perfect sense. I think it used a very similar protocol to AT, but just used different scan codes or something. So obviously I couldn't really use it in this state. I think I could reprogram the converter, as Saurus are programmable, but I figured it was okay like this. Another possibility, however, is that it's simply buggered. If you look at the inside, a significant part of the keyboard has been, well, I'm not sure actually, but it's fucked. That I think we can agree on. Here you can see the crack in the case. The damage it sustained during shipping was apparently so severe that one of the brass screw sockets actually came off, which I've never seen before. Impressive. The keycaps are Alps double-shot ABS, which are excellent mid-thickness tall caps that are perfect for sound. And I like the legends too, which are Helvetica, a semi-giveaway for Alps-based keyboards. Especially because of the shortened right side, this gives it some very interesting key shapes and sizes. Oh yeah, and it's got a rub-out key as well. Or in metric units, masturbate. There is a strip of paper, now decomposed, with plastic covers in front of it, for writing F-key shortcuts on too. I've seen something like this on other models of keyboard too, but I've never seen them reduced to a pulp quite like this before. They are a bit bare bones though. Most other F-key shortcut strips at least came with boxes to write in. It comes with yellow Alps, which I've covered only once before. They're in okay condition, not the smoothest I've ever tried, but they are a bit on the stiff side. I prefer my linears to be rather light. They're okay, satisfying to use, but they get tiring after a while. Still, can't argue with the sound. As mentioned before, the build quality is excellent, and its weight of over 2.3 kilos, which is more than that of a Model M, kind of affirms that. It's made with a moderately thick plastic outer case, especially at the bottom it's quite thick, comes with a hefty metal mounting plate and a pretty taut chassis. It's held together by screws, and it comes with brass screw sockets too. Nice! Admittedly, it is also rather, well, fucking mammoth is the term that springs to mind. It's 55.5 centimeters wide, just half a centimeter shy of a battleship, so you'd expect a fair amount of heft. And moreover, a lot of the weight is concentrated on the trackball, perhaps surprisingly. Now, at the moment you can see only the top poking out, but it's a sleeping behemoth, I tell you. To show you what I mean, here's a cherry trackball from a G80 11800 and a focused trackball from an FK 9200. They're respectively 19 and 25 millimeters in diameter and 18 and 14 grams. And then here's the Unisys one. It's fucking 50 millimeters in diameter and weighs 114 fucking grams. Jesus, pimpin' Christ and Mary Gold Digger Magdalene, look at this titanic trackball. The way it works is as follows. There are two rollers, one for each axis, with little wheels attached and an infrared LED opposite a photoresistor. In pinball, we call this an opto. They're often used for controlling things like the flippers. Now, when you move the ball, I'll just demonstrate that for you, the wheel starts to move and the spokes in the wheel obscure the photoresistor, which is how it knows that the ball is moving along that axis. This is a common way of doing this sort of setup, by the way. Now, on the sticker it says made in Korea, which should give you a clue as to its origins. It was made by Gold Star, which was a joint venture with Alps. They have some special switches of their own, such as linear browns and linear ambers, but the stuff they made was genuine Alps material. The PCB code is 12KCA08CK. The K at the end is sometimes said to be indicative of Korean manufacture. Also at the back we have a bank of 4 dip switches behind this cover plate and a complete absence of adjustable feet, as you can see. All it's got is these rubber non-slip pads. Oh yeah, and the cable is quite thick and coiled and comes with a standard 5-pin DIN connector. Overall, it's a pretty interesting keyboard, built like a tank for sure. It's just a shame that it doesn't work properly. The switches are a tad stiff for me, but I guess weighting is one of the most subjective things about key feels, so that's not saying all that much. Your mileage may vary. That's it for this review. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And following is a typing demonstration of me typing on this keyboard.